All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and start reviewing fractions, decimals, and percents. And we're going to be converting them back and forth. Our first one we're going to convert fractions to decimals. Then we're going to do fractions to percent. Okay, our first fraction is going to be 3/10. Okay. All right, well, you can divide 3 divided by 10, or you can realize that you just said 3/10, and you know that 3/10 is written like this, because this right here is your tenths place. Our next one we're going to do is 5/8. This one you might have to divide out, so we're going to divide it out really quick. Okay, we have 5 divided by 8. Well, 8 won't go into 5, so we're going to go ahead and add our decimal and a 0. 8 will go into 50, and it'll go in 6 times, which is 48. 2 left over, so we're going to add another 0. 8 will go into 20 2 times, and 2 times 8 is 16. Bring down your 4. I'm going to add one more 0. And 8 will go into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. So you know that 5/8 625 thousandths. Our next one we have is going to be 7/20. On this one, we're going to make an equivalent fraction. And we know that 20 times 5 is 100. So 7 times 5 is 35. And since this is over 100, we know that that's equal to 35%. And what we're going to do here is we're going to move it over 2 decimal places. 1, 2. So we have 35 hundredths. Next, we're going to do fractions to percents. Let's go back with our 5/8. We said that that equaled 625 thousandths. So if we're going to percents, we're going to move it over 2 places to the right. 1, 2. And that's going to equal 62.5%. Okay, so let's do our 7/20. We said that our equivalent fraction to that was 35 over 100. Well, since it's over 100 and percent is always out of 100, we can say that it's 35%. Our next one we're going to have is 2 1/4. Think about 1/4. If you had $1 and you have 1/4 of a dollar, you know that there's 4 quarters in a dollar, so that's 25. So let's turn this into a decimal really quick. And we have 2 and 25 hundredths. So now we're going to take it and we're going to move it over 2 places. 1, 2. Now it's equal to 225%. All right, next we're going to go from decimals to percents. So decimal to percent. Then we're going to go decimal to fraction. Our first one, we're going to have 34 hundredths. When we're going from decimal to percent, we're going to move it over 2 places to the right. I'm going to go over 1, 2, and that's where decimal is going to be. So 34%. So let's try 1 and 9 thousandths. Again, we're going to start where the decimal is. We're going to move it over 2 places to the right. So then we get 109/10%, or we could write it as 109/10%. Said the same way, it's just written differently. Our next one is 0.6 repeating. Well, we know that 0.6 repeating is just 6, 6, 6, 6, and it just keeps on going. So now let's move our decimal over 2 places. 1, 2. So that's equal to 66 6/10 repeating percent. Or we can say 66 2/3%. Next, we're going to go from decimal to fraction. Let's do 35 hundredths. Okay. We want to do it over percent, is over 100. So right here, we know this is our tenths, and this is our hundredths. Okay, so we can say 35 over 100 because it's in the hundredths place. Well, it's not in lowest terms, so we need to divide it. And since I can see clearly that both of them are divisible by 5, we're going to divide by 5. Divide by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. And this here is in lowest terms. So now we have 4 6/10. So I'm just going to rewrite this. It's 4 6/10. And I can see that 6 and 10 are divisible both by 2. So let's divide them both by 2. We don't have to do anything to the 4 because it's a whole number. And we have 4, 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then this here is in lowest terms. So we have 125 thousandths. So again, this place here is the tenths. This is going to be your hundredths. This is your thousandths. So that tells you what it's going to be over. So we have 125 over 1,000. Well, real quick, I can see they're both divisible by 25. So I'm going to divide them both by 25. And I get 5 over 40. Well, I know that these two are both divisible by 5 as well. Or by 5 this time. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 40 divided by 5 is 8. And that is going to be our lowest terms there. Alright, let's do our last two sets. And we're going to go percent to decimal, and then we're going to go percent to fraction. Okay, 48%. We're going to move our decimal over 2 places to the left. 1, 2. We get 48 hundredths. Next we have 7%. Again, we're going to move it 2 places to the left, but there's only one number there. So let's just go 1, 2. Put my decimal there. But then I'm going to just add a 0. So we get 7 thousandths. Next, we have 0.5%. So let's move over 2 to the left. 1, 2. So I'm going to add 2 zeros this time. Let me put my zeros in front, sorry. And we get 5 thousandths. Next, we're going to have 1/48 hundredths percent. This is a little bit trickier, so we're moving over 2 places to the left. 1, 2. Again, we're going to add our 0. our last one. We're gonna do percent to fraction. So 48%. Again, percent is over 100. And so we're gonna have 48 over 100. And now let's reduce this. I know they're both divisible by 4. So let's divide by 4. And I get 12 over 25. Next we have 631%. So we got 631 over 100. And now I'm going to reduce it. It's just like dividing 631 divided by 100. You know that's not going to go into the 6, not in the 63, but it will go into the 631 and it'll go in 6 times. So then you'll have 600. And when you subtract that, you have 31 remaining. So you're going to have 631 over 100. And that there is going to be in lowest terms for that one. Let's go a little bit in a different direction. 0.7%. And here, I don't like decimals and fractions together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 10. And then I'll get that decimal taken care of. And you're going to get 7 over 1,000. And that's okay.